is Atiana Feni. Depression for me is a dark cloud hanging around you. Like you just have that sense of a dark cloud around you. That you know how that those rainy, like heavily rainy days, and it's so gloomy, and you're sort of dampens your spirit. You're not in the mood, you know. So for me, I could say that's depression for me. I went through depression twice, but I didn't know it was depression. Like I wasn't aware that it was depression when I went through it. I found out it was later on. How did I seek help? Number one, for me, I realized I couldn't do it without God, so it sort of drew me closer to God. And I can say for me, I've never turned back from that. I'd really encourage people to seek help. It's not a joke. Mental health is a big thing, and many of us are going through it right now. And we thank God that we are actually speaking out about it. So I'd encourage someone to seek help.
Welcome back to Truthcast. Today we'll be talking about depression, and as you can see tuko na mgeni leo. Feni, karibu.
Asante sana.
So Feni, I have interacted with you before, and I know that you have been through depression. Mm-hmm. So during that period, ulikuwa una feel aje?
Emotionally?
Emotionally, your mental space.
I knew something was wrong. I wasn't happy. I wasn't peaceful. I felt empty, purposeless. Let's just say, yeah.
So one day you woke up feeling like that. Ama ilikuwa kitu continuous ukanote?
That's a hard question. I think what happened is I noticed. One day I just noticed. I think many a times we sweep things under the rug, and then by the time it's sort of, you notice that something is wrong, and it's been happening you're far gone. It's been like a period of the same things happening over and over again, just because you're not aware, like very aware that this is happening. Yeah.
So you didn't notice it at first. You noticed it after a while.
Yes.
Okay.
I noticed it after a while.
And did you notice it by yourself, or someone actually told you, Penny, you're not okay? What actually made you realize that something is not right? At what point did you realize siko sawa?
When waking up became a task.
Wow.
Yes. So I got to a point whereby I never wanted to get out of bed. I didn't want to interact with anyone. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I just wanted to be by myself. Mm-hmm. Yes. So by the time that, I think I am a morning person. I'd love to believe I'm a morning person, So when now mornings came and I wasn't looking forward to mornings, I noticed that something was off.
Wow.
Yes.
I have moments where you don't want to wake up in the morning. Waking up is a task. Una sort of feeling purposeless. So how long was a while?
A while. I think it took a month. Because I was very younger then, definitely. So I was very active in terms of, meeting with friends, going out and all that. So when it got to a point where I was just like, I can't do this, I'd have to avoid my friends, or I didn't want to do anything. Like I didn't have any motivation to do anything. So yeah, it was really hard.
And what is the cause of all these feelings of suddenly you don't feel like going out? What exactly caused it?
I cannot say I know for sure what it was. I think at the time I was in Uganda at the time, and I had just gotten done with my tertiary education. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have work. I didn't have anything I was doing that probably engaged me in all levels, whether mentally or and I sort of just felt like I was occupying space. You know, like I'm not doing anything. I'm not happy. I'm not joyful. I just don't have peace. I keep feeling like, you know, there's something lacking. There's something missing, but I couldn't point it. Yeah.
Like for me, is it depression really? I was just going through a phase, but then I remember how I used to kind of deal with it was be around people. Like it was like a fake it till you make it situation. Yeah. So how did you deal with your own? Like, were you know, there's some people who will smoke, some people will do alcohol, some people who will engage in sex, you know, just to get to numb the fact that you're in pain. So how did you deal with yours?
I was active, so I can think the alcohol and the clubbing or the partying was something that I used to like. But then it got to a point whereby I felt like I just didn't want to do it. I didn't have the energy to entertain my friends or to entertain myself. I'd be locked up in the room and just probably get out to look for food, you know.
At least you got out to look for food. That's very important.
When I'm really hungry. I don't have really, I cannot say I have healthy eating habits. But at that time, I think you've seen me before. I was very skinny. So that's the body I carried all through. You know, so I tried smoking.
Didn't work.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it. Anyone who's watching this and knows me now, you know, I mean, anyway. So I didn't like it. It was more of like experimenting, you know. By the time at that time when I was experimenting, I cannot say I was depressed. It was more of like, you know, you see your friend doing this, it's like, oh, let me try and see if I like it, you know. Or like, let me drink some alcohol and see if I like it, you know. But for me, coping, I don't think I had a coping mechanism. I was just there. I didn't know how to deal. I couldn't articulate my emotions. I couldn't articulate what was going on. I was just there. Literally. Yes, I just or just lay on the bed if the sleep is not there. You know, yeah.
After how long do we call it depression? Because sometimes I'd wake up tomorrow and I feel like I don't want to get out of bed the next day, the next week. And then after a month I'm fine. You get? When it goes on for long periods, like is when we call it depression. When I notice, you get my point. At 2-3 days, can I call it depression?
I cannot say I am how do you call it? Like, I can't say I have studied, or you know, like for me to really say that this is how it usually is. But I could give you an example. Let's say you have an infection that keeps on recurring, you know. So for me, I felt like I barely had sunshine in my life. So like maybe today would be slightly brighter, and then I'd have long periods of darkness, you know. So definitely after a while, somehow your body always tells you there's just something, you know. So like, you know, like you have an infection, maybe you're clear like a week or a few days, then it recurs, you know. It's like your body is telling you need to do something about it.
And I know when you were going through this phase, you knew something was wrong, but you didn't know what it was. You hadn't named it.
I didn't name it. You know how sometimes, I think probably you've even watched movies when people are like going through addiction, you know. We could give an example, AA, you know, like Alcoholics Anonymous. And then the first step of healing usually is acceptance. You know, so when you go there and you say, you know, my name is so and so and I'm an alcoholic, you've actually made the first step to heal, you know. But now when you haven't named it or when you haven't accepted it, you're still sort of in like denial. I don't know if you get it. So for me at that time, and you can say, because this is back like in 2012, 2013, thereabouts, I cannot say mental health was something that was popping or people are talking about. Many people did not know. Even the people who knew thought that there was, there was stigma attached to it or a weakness. Or, I mean, we've heard of these things where people say, it's a white man's disease.
Exactly. So sad.
And I can say that probably even our parents went through it, but because you're known to be, you have to be tough, you have to do all that thing. You don't really get to that point where you say, I think I'm depressed. We thank God that currently it's something that people are speaking up about. And as I had told you before, I did not know I was depressed, so later on, and it occurred twice. I went into depression twice. So later on, that's when I'm like, oh my God, I was actually depressed. And
I think it's a story for everyone. Like we all start from a point of we actually are not aware that we are depressed, because you're like, me depressed,
I'll be fine. It's just a
it can be me. So you
just...
move on and you realize, you're empty, and then the emptiness sometimes is so loud. You get what I'm saying?
And it could be that sometimes sometimes some people are not in touch with their emotions.
Exactly.
Like especially for males, there's this toxic masculinity that you new mama. When you show too much emotions, people are like, you're being too. It's either you're kiddish or you're unakuwa mama kiplani. People are not accepting that the way they feel. They don't feel like they are allowed to feel that. I mean, like, if I can give an example for someone who's grieving and you're a man, people don't give you the chance to talk about how you feel. You've lost a loved one. How do you feel about it? Do you miss her? It's not men. It's not bad to miss someone.
I was listening to poetry, a guy called Perry Preston, and he was talking about how men are not allowed to feel. So he was giving a situation where he lost his uncle, and the males in the house were just tunakaa ngumu, and then the women are the ones who are wailing, crying and everything. So he was a kid. He wasn't even grown up. He was a kid, and he was showing, I don't think alilia, he was just sad publicly. So, and then a cousin of his called him and told him, your mother does not need a weak man in the house right now. And he said that affected him all the way to when he got married, to the point that his wife only saw him cry twice and he thought he had failed her.
Even for ladies, there are ladies right now who, this independent ladies, people who got it all together, such that you don't want to be in touch with your emotions, yet God created everything inside of you and put emotions for a reason.
Exactly. Also think pia hii issue ya ukikosewa unanyamaza, it's okay. It's okay, no problem. But ndani, I think pia hiyo inachangiwa. I think you should talk about it. It's not bad to sit down with someone and be like, you did this, you said this. Try at least ikwe, you got it out. I don't think it's bad. There's something you mentioned about during your time you were going through this phase. It wasn't really something people will talk about. You're depressed. Why?
Exactly.
Kumanisha it affected your support system.
Your relationships.
So you couldn't come out pia wewe. Sasa support ilikuwa inatoka wapi? Or there was no support at all? Were there people who knew?
I think at the time, I have a guardian in Uganda. I studied there. I stayed there for a while. So many times when I didn't feel like staying home, because I felt like people would be so nosy, and I wasn't really up to talking or to sharing or anything, or if they'd even understand what I was going through. I was dating a guy at the time, so I used to go to his house. And I knew, during the day I'm alone, I can sleep, I can, I'm just by myself, which is what I really wanted. Definitely he knew that there was something wrong, and he tried to prod and ask, like, what's up, do you want to talk about it? What can I do to make it easier, or what can I do to make it right, or what can I do to make it, like, what can I do for you to be okay, and considering I couldn't articulate my emotions, I couldn't articulate what I was going through, I didn't know what to say, so sort of he was there, but
you were detached.
I was very detached, but it's like his presence, I felt his presence, like he was there, because I didn't know what to say or what I was going through. So at least he made a point to just be there for me, Yeah, so I can say for me, that was something that he actually helped, because over time, I don't know, we just, one day I was like, okay, I'm tired, let's get back to life, But because I knew I had him as a support system at that time, it was really easy on me. I can actually say that. My name is Atiana Feni. Depression for me is a dark cloud hanging around you. Like, you just have that sense of a dark cloud around you, that how that those rainy, like heavily rainy days, and it's so gloomy, and you're sort of dampens your spirit, you're not in the mood, So for me, I could say that's depression for me. I went through depression twice, but I didn't know it was depression. Like, I wasn't aware that it was depression when I went through it. I found out it was later on. How did I seek help? Number one, for me, I realized I couldn't do it without God, so it sort of drew me closer to God. And I can say for me, I've never turned back from that. I'd really encourage people to seek help. It's not a joke. Mental health is a big thing, and many of us are going through it right now. And we thank God that we are actually speaking out about it. So I'd encourage someone to seek help.